Okaeri! Welcome back to my channel, Made Between the Pages. My name is Taylor, and today we're going to be doing the Unpopular Opinions Book Tag. At this point, this book tag is a little old, so I wasn't able to find the exact original person who created it, but when I googled it, a blog from Metal Phantasm Reads came up with an updated version in 2019 with a list of questions. So I took the questions from that blog. I'll link it down below to give credit to the person who created it, or I think they created the new one. If not, please let me know who the original person was for these questions, and I can link them down below too. But as is clear from the title, this is a tag where you share your not so popular opinions on books. So I have quite a few of these, and I'm wearing my sassy lipstick today, so let's just get started. Number 1. A popular book series that you don't like. For this one, I'm gonna say Shadow and Bone, the trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. Look, listen, I did read these later than you're intended to, so I think that some of the tropes were just kind of tired for me when I finally read it. I know this is really close to some people's hearts, and I'm sorry to do it to you, but I really liked the setup of these books. I don't mind the chosen one trope at all, but I thought that the adventures that she went on, or the lessons that the main character Alina learned, were they had a lot of potential, but they weren't explored completely. I felt like almost every step in her journey was missing something. And the love triangle aspect of this book did not work for me. Again, I don't mind love triangles if they're done well, but in my opinion, this one was not good. The Darkling, I don't understand why anyone would ship him with Alina, so it might be because I missed the original train, you know, with that series, but just wasn't it for me. Number 2, a book series that many people don't like but you love. Okay, this one is about to be controversial. I love Mistborn Era 2 by Brandon Sanderson. More than Mistborn Era 1. I know people are gonna go off in the comments, I'm sure. I did enjoy Mistborn, don't get me wrong, but all of those books were kind of a 4 stars, 4.5 stars for me. The plot was amazing, but I'm a character-based reader, I'm sure, as you can tell from some of my reviews in the past, and I just didn't connect to a lot of his characters. And also the relationship between the two main characters was not believable to me. It felt super convenient. I didn't feel any sparks or any tension, so I just couldn't connect to those things. The plot in and of itself made it a 4.5 star book because Brandon Sanderson is Brandon Sanderson. And of course the magic system, that goes without saying. But Era 2, I don't know if it was just exactly what I needed at the time, if that was what I was into, or I don't know, maybe I connected with the characters better, but I love Mistborn Era 2 with every corner of my heart. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that I love Mistborn Era 2, and I think it might be better than 1. Go! Number 3. A love triangle where the main character ended up with the person you didn't want them to end up with, or an OTP you don't like. So for this one, I'm gonna go back into the reading archives of my life, and I'm gonna bring out that I was Team Jacob. I hated Edward with all of my heart when I read Twilight back when I was a teeny bopper. Maybe middle school, like very young middle school, I read Twilight. And I hated Edward. I was Team Jacob all the way, all day, every day. Now I haven't reread them since then, And watching the Irish Reader, recently he's been doing a review, not really, what kind of a review? A read-along, where he reads the books for the first time. And some of the quotes that Jacob has and some of the actions he makes have me questioning my Team Jacob stance that I've held all this time, because I don't remember him being that toxic. But, you know, I haven't read them in probably over 10 years now, so maybe it's time for a reread. I'd be open to that. But I would say that when it comes to someone ending up with someone I didn't want them to, Twilight was the main one. I was so pissed when she was Team Vampire and not Werewolf, so that one for sure. Number 4, a popular genre that you hardly reach for. This is definitely contemporary. I don't hate it, but I'm never drawn to those stories, almost ever. Even if they have really cute covers, sometimes that can pull me in, but I guess I'm just not interested in stories that are in my world so much. But I'm open to reading more contemporaries. It's definitely not something that I refuse to read or anything, but it's something that I don't reach for almost ever. But I do follow some booktubers who mostly read contemporary, and I do enjoy listening to their reviews of them, so maybe it would be good for me to give it more of a shot. Maybe I'll make that a goal at some point for a monthly challenge or something this year. I'd be open to that. Number 5, a popular or beloved character that you don't like. Okay, I'm gonna go with 2 for this one. The first one is gonna be Alina from the Shadow and Bone trilogy. She's one of the main reasons I didn't like that series. I really did not like her. I felt like she just let everyone drag her along. She never made her own decisions. She never made her own choices, and the plot just kind of pulled her along, or other people's choices forced a choice out of her. But yeah, I don't know, I just didn't like her, so didn't connect with her at all. So she's one of them. But because I mentioned Shadow and Bone earlier, I want to throw in another character, and that would be Clary from the Shadowhunters. Yeah. I'm all for a strong female lead who knows what she wants and goes for it, but for me she was a very forced version of that. And she was just dumb. Like, a lot of the choices that she made were just stupid. And I get that it's a young adult novel, so they're teenagers, so they can make some stupid decisions, but it wasn't an endearing kind of stupid to me. I haven't read these since I was a teeny bopper, so I'm going by my memory. Maybe I would like her more now, maybe I wouldn't, who knows, but based on my memories of that series, she was like my least favorite character. I also didn't like Jace very much. However, we stan Isabel, Alec, Magnus, and who was the other one that I liked? Ah, I forgot his name, oh god. Simon. Those 4 characters, I was all for them the whole series, so they're what really made the Mortal Instruments worth it for me. Wasn't a fan of the 2 main characters, so there's that. Number 6, an author that you can't seem to get into. This would be Pierce Brown, the author of the Red Rising series. This series has all of the markings of a series that I'm gonna love. You know, I'm not opposed to sci-fi. It has fantasy elements to it. It just seems like something I would really enjoy. But I've tried to start Red Rising twice, and I've gotten maybe 2 chapters in and put it down and picked up something else. And it wasn't like, oh, I hate this book. There was nothing I disliked about it, but it just couldn't grab me. And so I think that Pierce Brown right now is just one of those authors that I can't really connect with. But I am really interested in really pursuing this series because it's so popular, and I do want to read more sci-fi. So I'm going to try one more time sometime in the future. 3rd time's the charm. But I'm going to give him another shot. But for now, I would say Pierce Brown is the author I just can't work with. Number 7, a book trope that you're tired of seeing. This, for me, is when a bad dark boy has a sad past, so all of his abusive behaviors within relationships are excused. This drives me up the wall. But notice here I mentioned relationship actions are excused. So someone, for example, like Kaz Brecker from Six of Crows has a really fucked up past, but that affects his daily life and how he interacts with people and makes him a harsher person, but he never acts abusive towards someone that he loves, and that is never excused. And that is what gets to me. So you can have a flawed character with a bad history, but you don't need to excuse abusive behavior in a relationship context. And it's okay to have that in a book if it's disparaged, if it's not encouraged in the end by the storyline. But if it's presented as, because he's a sad boy, he can be abusive, I hate that. So I know that in the early 2000s, this was a thing, especially around the Twilight time, so I am guilty of loving this trope when I was younger. But at this point in my life, when I see it, my eyes cannot roll far enough back in my head. Like, I'm over it, completely over it. Number 8, a popular book or series that you're just not interested in reading. Now for this, I'm going to go with 2 authors, actually. The first one is anything by John Green. I have no issue with John Green himself, and I'm sure that his writing is great. But as I mentioned earlier, contemporary is not something that I reach for, and his books just seem like sad contemporaries. And maybe they deal with harsher topics, or heavier topics, which I tend to enjoy, but they just seem overwhelmingly sad, like Titanic. It's meant to make you cry. And I don't usually gravitate towards those. So anything by John Green, I just have no interest in it. And the other person is Rainbow Rowell. I know that she is a booktube queen. You know, like everyone loves her on here. But again, contemporary and maybe just the plot of a lot of her books or the synopses that I read don't make me want to pick them up. So I just don't really have an interest in her. However, I may have to give these 2 authors a shot because I'm going to be doing a challenge video, which I'll release soon, or maybe will be released before this. Either way, there'll be a challenge video that I'm going to be introducing where I may be forced to read these 2. So, we'll see. And number 9. The saying goes that the book is always better than the movie. But what movie or TV adaptation is better than the book? Okay. We're gonna end on a banger. Please be nice to each other in the comments down below. But I'm gonna go with Lord of the Rings. I am a fantasy lover. I love the Lord of the Rings. The Fellowship of the Ring is one of my favorite books. But you can't deny Tolkien's reading style can be challenging. And, you know, the song breaks and Tom Bombadil and a lot of the characters that spend a long time in exposition where they don't necessarily have to. Well, I think they do have to as part of the journey of the book, so I think the book itself has its own merits. And I think that everyone that's a fantasy fan should try to read it, if you know, at least give it a shot. But when it comes to streamlining a story, making the story compelling with really good pacing, the movies were amazing. I mean, I watched the Lord of the Ring movies so much when I was a child. And I, to this day, think that they're one of the best adaptations I've ever seen of a book. And I held no ill sentiments toward it at all. Whereas for Harry Potter or something like that, I'm such a lover of the books that when they left out things like Winky in Harry Potter 4, The Goblet of Fire, or they left out Peeves, which I just, why would you do that, right? So see, you can see here, I still hold some negative sentiments towards those types of adaptations, but The Lord of the Rings, I hold none of those. I think the choices they made were amazing, and I think it's just a beautifully done series of movies. So I'm gonna go with Lord of the Rings. Bam! Those are my unpopular book opinions. I know some of you might not like it. Come at me like I ain't changing those opinions, but I will have a discussion down below because that's part of the joy of disagreeing, is you can discuss with someone who has different opinions from you. So I'm not afraid at all to engage in a conversation about these, but that's how I truly feel. Hope this video doesn't leave people hating me just as I'm starting to come out on Booktube, but you know, it is what it is. But for now, I'm gonna head out. See you guys later. Jane!